The Galactic Council station hung in space like a giant crystal flower. Its many arms stretched out from the center, each one holding different alien ships. Ambassador Zethkar looked out the window at the beautiful sight. His own ship, the Crystal Wing, was docked nearby. At 150 meters long, it was one of the finest ships the Vorthak Empire had ever built. Zethkar's crystal body glowed with soft blue light as he thought about today's meeting. The Council was going to meet a new species called humans. They came from a small planet on the edge of the galaxy. Most new species were not very interesting. They usually had small ships and simple technology. Another primitive race wanting to join us, said Commander Vextal, a tall insect-like being from the hive worlds. Her forearms moved as she talked. I hope they do not waste too much of our time. Zethkar nodded. In his 300 years as an ambassador, he had seen many first contacts. They were all the same. A small ship would arrive. The new species would ask to join the Council. The Council would test them. Most failed and went back home. The meeting room was full of different aliens. There were the gas-breathing nebula folk in their floating tanks. The rock-like granite kings sat on special chairs. The bird-like stellar wings flew around the ceiling. All of them were important members of the Galactic Council. Hive Queen Silandra called the meeting to start. She was the leader of the screening committee. Her insect body was covered in shiny armor. Today we meet the humans, she said in her clicking voice. They sent a message asking to join our council. What do we know about them? Asked General Crox from the Cracks Federation. His wolf-like face showed no emotion. The Cracks were known for their strong military. Very little, Silandra replied. They say they come in peace. They want to trade and share knowledge. The usual things new species say. Admiral Yurthan of the Zephyrian Republic laughed. His blue skin sparkled in the light. I bet their biggest ship is no more than 50 meters long. These edge species never have good technology. The aliens all agreed. Edge species were always backward. They lived far from the center of the galaxy where all the advanced civilizations were. Their ships were small and slow. Their weapons were weak. Some could not even travel faster than light very well. When will they arrive? Asked Captain Mordek of the Stone Fleet. His rocky body made grinding sounds when he moved. Soon, said Zilandra. Our sensors show nothing yet, but they should be here any moment. The aliens continued to talk about other business. They discussed trade agreements. They talked about border disputes. Nobody was very excited about meeting the humans. It was just another routine first contact. Zethkar looked at the datapad in his hands. It had information about hundreds of species that had asked to join the Council. Most were rejected. Only species with good technology and strong fleets were allowed to join. The Council needed members who could help defend against threats and contribute to galactic civilization. The humans' home system was called Sol. Their planet was called Earth. It had mostly water on the surface. The humans were carbon-based life forms like many other species. Nothing about them seemed special. I wonder what their ships look like, said Ambassador Felnara of the Silk Road Confederation. Her snake-like body coiled around her chair. Probably the same boring designs we always see. Small and ugly, laughed Admiral Yurthan. His own ship, the Star Dancer, was 800 meters long. It was considered very large by galactic standards. Most ships were much smaller. Suddenly, alarms started to sound. The lights in the meeting room flashed red. Everyone stopped talking and looked around in confusion. What is happening? Demanded General Crox. His hand moved to his weapon. A technician ran into the room. He was a small, furry creature from the Censor Guild. Sirs, madam, something is coming. Something very big. How big? Asked Silandra. Her insect eyes focused on the technician. The sensors. They say it is 5,000 meters long. But that cannot be right. The sensors must be broken. The room went silent. 5,000 meters was impossible. No ship was that big. The largest ship in the galaxy belonged to the Titan Corporation. It was a factory ship that was 2,000 meters long. But even that was considered huge beyond belief. Check the sensors again, ordered Admiral Yurthan. His voice was shaking. More technicians ran in and out of the room. They all said the same thing. Something enormous was coming toward the station. It was bigger than anything in their databases. Maybe it is an asteroid, suggested Captain Mordek, with engines attached to it. No, said the head technician. It has the energy signature of a starship, a very advanced starship. The aliens all looked at each other with worry. If the humans had ships that big, they were not a primitive edge species. They might be more advanced than anyone in the council. "Should we call for the defense fleet?" asked General Crux. "Not yet," said Zelandra. "They said they come in peace. But ready the weapons just in case." Zethkar felt his crystal body grow cold. In all his years, he had never heard of a ship that size. The biggest Vorthax ships were 300 meters long, and those took decades to build. How could any species build something 5,000 meters long? "Look," shouted Ambassador Felnara. She was pointing out the window. Far in the distance, something was appearing. It started as a tiny dot of light. But as it got closer, the aliens could see it was huge. Bigger than huge. It was like a flying city. The human ship dropped out of hyperspace near the station. The aliens pressed against the windows to get a better look. What they saw made their minds struggle to understand. The ship was not just long. It was tall and wide, too. It had sections that looked like forests under glass domes. There were areas that looked like cities with lights and buildings. Parts of it looked like factories with smoke and steam coming out. "By the Ancient Ones," whispered Admiral Yerthin. "How is this possible?" The human ship slowly moved toward the station. It was so big that it blocked out the stars behind it. The aliens watched in complete silence. Nobody knew what to say. Zethkar's hands shook as he held his datapad. Everything he knew about space technology was wrong. The humans were not a primitive edge species. They were something completely new and different. Communication signals started coming from the human ship. A voice spoke in the common galactic language. "Galactic Council Station. This is the UES Endeavor requesting permission to dock. We come in peace for diplomatic talks." The voice sounded friendly and normal. But the ship it came from was anything but normal. Shilandra finally found her voice. "UES Endeavor, you are cleared to dock. Please use docking bay 7. "Thank you, Council Station. We will send a shuttle." "A shuttle?" The aliens watched as a small ship left the giant human vessel. But even the shuttle was bigger than most alien cruisers. It was 200 meters long by itself. The meeting room was completely quiet. Every alien was thinking the same thing. The humans were not what anyone expected. They were either very advanced or very dangerous. Maybe both. And this was just their diplomatic ship. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Endeavor and looked at the alien station ahead. It was beautiful, like a work of art floating in space, but it was also much smaller than she had expected. The whole station could fit inside her ship's main hangar bay. "Captain," said Commander Jackson, her first officer, "we're getting some strange readings from the station. Their communication channels have gone quiet." "Did we do something wrong?" Sarah frowned. "I don't think so. We followed all the protocols they sent us. Maybe they're just being careful." The Endeavor was one of Earth's newer diplomatic vessels. At 5 kilometers long, it was considered medium-sized by human standards. It carried a full diplomatic team, scientific laboratories, and everything needed for long missions in space. The ship could support 50,000 people if needed. "Sir," said Lieutenant Park from the communications station. "I'm picking up lots of radio chatter from the station. But it's all in different alien languages. The translation computer is having trouble keeping up." Sarah nodded. "What can you make out?" "Well, sir, they seem very excited about something. I'm hearing words like impossible and enormous and how a lot." Commander Jackson laughed. "Maybe they've never seen a proper starship before." "Could be," Sarah said. She had read the files on the Galactic Council species. Most of them seemed to prefer smaller ships. She thought it was an interesting design choice, but not very practical for long-distance exploration. On the station, the aliens were having a very different conversation. Ambassador Zethkar stood in the observation deck with dozens of other species representatives. They all stared at the human ship in shocked silence. "It's bigger than our entire home fleet," whispered Admiral Yerthin. His blue skin had turned pale. The Zephyrian Republic had 12 major warships. The human ship was longer than all of them put together. "How do they even power something that size?" asked Engineer Telvak of the mechanic clans. His metal body sparked with nervous energy. "The energy requirements must be enormous." Captain Mordek's rocky face showed confusion. "And how do they build it?" "Our biggest shipyards can only handle vessels up to 500 meters. This thing would need an entire planet to construct." Hive Queen Silandra was trying to stay calm, but her insect body was shaking. In her long life, she had seen the rise and fall of many civilizations. But she had never seen anything like this. "Perhaps," she said slowly. We should prepare for the possibility that these humans are more advanced than we thought. General Crocs growled. His wolf-like features showed worry and anger. Advanced or not, no one builds ships that big unless they plan to use them for war. That thing could carry enough weapons to destroy a solar system, or enough people to colonize one, said Ambassador Felnara, her snake-like body coiled tighter around her chair. Maybe they're not warriors. Maybe there's something else entirely. The human shuttle was approaching the docking bay. Even though it was tiny compared to the mothership, it was still larger than most alien vessels. The docking bay controllers had to scramble to find a bay big enough to fit it. Inside the shuttle, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez checked her notes one more time. She was Earth's top diplomat and had been chosen to make first contact with the Galactic Council. With her were Dr. Marcus Webb, a xenobiologist, and Colonel James Murphy, military advisor. Remember, Elena said to her team, we want to make a good first impression. These aliens have been spacefaring for thousands of years. We're the newcomers here. Dr. Webb looked out the shuttle window at the station. Their architecture is beautiful, but the scale is so small. How do they manage interstellar travel with such tiny ships? Different approaches to the same problems, Elena replied. That's what makes first contact so interesting. Colonel Murphy was more practical. Ma'am, I'm reading defensive positions on the station. They've powered up their weapons and have ships moving into guard positions. They seem nervous about something. Elena sighed. Probably just being cautious. We are strangers after all. The shuttle docked with a soft bump. Elena and her team gathered their equipment and prepared to meet the aliens. They had no idea that their arrival had caused panic throughout the station. On the Endeavor's bridge, Captain Sarah was getting reports from all over her ship. Captain, said Dr. Lisa Chang from the science department, I'm getting some interesting scans of the alien ships around the station. Their technology is very advanced, but their ships are remarkably small. How small? Sarah asked. The largest one I can see is about 800 meters. Most are under 200 meters. It's like they deliberately build everything to be compact. Commander Jackson looked puzzled. That's strange. How do they carry enough supplies for long journeys? Where do they put their crews? Maybe they don't need big crews, Dr. Chang suggested. Or maybe they have some technology we don't know about. Sarah made a mental note to ask about this during the diplomatic talks. Human ships were designed to be self-sufficient for years at a time. They carried entire communities of people, plus all the equipment needed to build new colonies or defend Earth if necessary. Back on the station, the alien diplomats were gathering in the main meeting hall. It was the largest room on the station, designed to hold representatives from dozens of species. But today everyone was nervous and excited. I still can't believe the size of that ship, muttered Commander Vextel. Her insect features showed amazement. It's like they brought a mobile planet with them. Maybe that's exactly what they did, said Admiral Yurthin. Maybe humans don't think small like we do. Ambassador Zethkar's crystal body was glowing brighter than usual, a sign of stress. In all my years of diplomacy, I have never encountered anything like this. We may need to completely change how we think about these humans. The doors to the meeting hall opened and the human delegation walked in. Elena Rodriguez was a tall woman with short brown hair and a confident smile. She wore a simple blue uniform with Earth symbol on it. Dr. Webb and Colonel Murphy flanked her. The aliens stared at the humans in silence. They looked so ordinary, so normal. It was hard to believe they came from that enormous ship. Elena looked around the room at all the different alien species. She had studied their files, but seeing them in person was amazing. There were crystal beings, insect creatures, rock-like entities, and many others she couldn't identify. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Elena began. I am Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, representing the United Earth government. We come in peace, seeking friendship and cooperation with your great civilization. Her words were translated into dozens of alien languages by the station's computers, but the aliens were not really listening to what she said. They were thinking about that massive ship floating outside. Hive Queen Zealandra finally spoke. Welcome, humans. We are honored by your visit. But we must ask, that ship of yours, is it a warship? Elena looked confused. The Endeavor? No, it's a diplomatic vessel. It's designed for long-range exploration and first contact missions. The aliens looked at each other in shock. If that enormous ship was just for diplomacy, what did their warships look like? Admiral Yurthin's voice was shaking. You consider that a diplomatic vessel? How big are your military ships? Elena smiled, not understanding the fear in the room. Oh, the Endeavor is actually on the smaller side for our fleet. Our larger ships are much more impressive. The meeting hall fell completely silent. Every alien was thinking the same thing. What kind of species builds ships that big just for talking to other people? And if that was a small ship, what were the big ones like? Ambassador Elena Rodriguez could see the confusion and fear in the alien faces around her. The meeting hall was completely silent except for the humming of the station's life support systems. She realized something had gone very wrong, but she didn't know what. Is there a problem? Elena asked gently. Have we violated some protocol? Hive Queen Zilandra's insect body was trembling. Your ship, she said in her clicking voice. You say it is small by your standards? Well, yes, Elena replied. The Endeavor is a mid-range diplomatic vessel. We have much larger ships in our fleet. She paused, seeing the shocked expressions. I think there might be some misunderstanding here. Dr. Marcus Webb stepped forward. As a xenobiologist, he was trained to notice cultural differences. Ambassador, I think our ship size might be unusual for them. Elena looked around the room. She was starting to understand. These aliens built much smaller ships than humans did. What seemed normal to her was impossible to them. Perhaps, she said carefully, we should explain how human ships are designed. Dr. Webb, would you show them our technical presentations? Dr. Webb activated his portable hologram projector. A three-dimensional image of the Endeavor appeared in the center of the room. The aliens gasped as they saw the ship's internal structure. The Endeavor carries a crew of 8,000 people, Dr. Webb explained. It has residential areas, parks, schools, hospitals, factories, and research laboratories. It's designed to operate independently for up to 10 years. Ambassador Zethikar's crystal body flickered with different colors. 8,000 crew members. Our largest ships carry maybe 50 people. Why do you need so many people on one ship? Asked Commander Vextal. Elena smiled. Because space is dangerous and very big. When humans first started exploring our own solar system, we learned that small crews could not handle all the problems that came up. We needed specialists for everything, doctors, engineers, scientists, farmers, teachers. Farmers? Admiral Yerthin's blue skin had turned almost white. You grow food on your ships? Of course, Dr. Webb said. How else would we eat on long journeys? The Endeavor has 23 agricultural decks. We grow everything from vegetables to fruit trees. General Crocs leaned forward. His wolf-like face showed intense interest. What about weapons? How many weapons does your ship carry? Colonel Murphy spoke for the first time. The Endeavor has defensive systems only. Point defense lasers, shield generators, and electronic warfare equipment. It's not designed for combat. But surely you have warships, General Crocs pressed. Ships designed specifically for fighting. Elena nodded. Yes, we do. But even our military vessels are designed to support large crews for long periods. Our dreadnoughts carry about 40,000 people each. The aliens made various sounds of shock and disbelief. 40,000 people on one ship was more than the total population of some of their smaller colonies. Captain Mordek's rocky voice rumbled through the room. How do you build such enormous vessels? What kind of shipyards do you use? Dr. Webb changed the hologram to show Earth's orbital shipyards. These are our main construction facilities. They're built around asteroids that we hollow out and convert into factories. The hologram showed massive ring-shaped structures surrounding small moons. Ships the size of cities were being assembled inside them. Thousands of smaller vessels moved around like busy insects. Engineer Telvak's metal body sparked with excitement. Incredible. You use entire asteroids as raw materials. We have never seen industrial construction on such a scale. It's necessary, Elena explained. Earth is a difficult planet. We have violent weather, dangerous radiation from our sun, and many natural disasters. When we went to space, we had to build big just to survive. Ambassador Felnara uncoiled slightly from her chair. Tell us about your homeworld. What made you build such large ships? Elena activated another hologram. This one showed Earth from space. The planet looked beautiful with blue oceans and white clouds. But the image also showed massive storms covering entire continents. Earth has weather systems that can destroy entire cities, Elena said. We have hurricanes with winds over 300 kilometers per hour. We have earthquakes that can split continents. Our sun sometimes sends out radiation that can kill electronics. Dr. Webb added more details. When humans first went to space, we lost many small ships and crews to solar storms. asteroid impacts, and equipment failures. We learned that bigger ships with larger crews had better survival rates. So you build big ships because you have to, said Zethkar slowly. Exactly, Elena said. In our solar system, distances are enormous. Mars is over 50 million kilometers from Earth at its closest. Jupiter is over 500 million kilometers away. Small ships simply cannot carry enough fuel, food, and equipment for such journeys. The aliens were starting to understand. Each species had developed technology based on their own environment and needs. Humans came from a hostile world in a dangerous solar system, so they built ships that could handle anything. Gilandra spoke again. What other types of ships do you have? Dr. Webb showed them more holograms. These are our exploration ships. They're about 8 kilometers long and carry complete scientific laboratories and crew quarters for 20,000 people. The image showed ships that looked like floating cities with multiple sections connected by long corridors. Each section was specialized for different tasks. Our colony ships are even larger, Elena continued. They carry everything needed to start a new civilization on an empty planet. Population, equipment, animals, plants, everything. How large? Whispered Admiral Yurthan. About 15 kilometers long, Elena said casually. They carry up to 1 million colonists in suspended animation, plus all their supplies and equipment. Several aliens made choking sounds. 1 million people on a single ship was more than the total population of most of their worlds. General Crocs had been very quiet, but now he spoke. What about your military? Surely you have different classes of warships? Colonel Murphy nodded. Our frigates are about 800 meters long. Cruisers are 2 kilometers. Battleships are 5 kilometers. Dreadnoughts are 12 kilometers. Your frigates are larger than our biggest warships, General Croc said in amazement. And your dreadnoughts, added Admiral Yurthan, are larger than our space stations. Elena was beginning to see the full scope of the cultural difference. I think we need to understand each other better. Dr. Webb showed them how we approach space travel. The hologram changed to show a typical human star system. Instead of a few small ships moving between planets, there were hundreds of large vessels creating a network of trade and communication. Humans don't just send small groups to explore, Dr. Webb explained. We send entire communities. When we colonize a new world, we bring everything needed to build a complete civilization immediately. Engineer Telvak studied the display carefully. This is a completely different philosophy. You treat space travel like moving cities between stars. Because that's exactly what it is, Elena said. We learned early that small groups fail in space. Large communities succeed. Ambassador Felnara asked the question that was on everyone's mind. How many of these enormous ships do you have? Elena and Colonel Murphy exchanged glances. This was sensitive information, but they had been authorized to be honest with the Council. Earth currently operates about 2,000 major vessels, Elena said, plus maybe 10,000 smaller ships for local transport and defense. The meeting hall erupted in shocked voices as aliens talked to each other in dozens of languages. 2,000 ships the size of cities was a fleet larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Zethkar raised his hand for silence. Ambassador Rodriguez, I think we need to completely change how we think about humanity. You are not a small edge species. You may be the most powerful civilization we have ever encountered. Elena looked surprised. Powerful? We don't think of ourselves as powerful. We just build what we need to survive and explore. And that, the aliens realized, might be the most frightening thing of all. The humans had built the most massive fleet in galactic history, and they thought it was just normal. The meeting hall buzzed with nervous conversation as aliens from dozens of species talked among themselves. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez could see that her explanations had created more questions than answers. The fear and amazement in the room was growing stronger. General Croc stood up from his seat. His wolf-like features showed deep suspicion. Ambassador Rodriguez, with respect, what you describe seems impossible. No civilization could build and maintain such a massive fleet. Admiral Yurthan nodded in agreement. 2,000 ships of that size would require the resources of 100 worlds. The logistics alone would be impossible. Elena looked at Dr. Webb and Colonel Murphy. She could see they were thinking the same thing she was. The aliens didn't believe them. General Crocs, Elena said carefully, are you suggesting that we are lying about our capabilities? I am suggesting, Crocs replied, that perhaps your ship is not what it appears to be. Maybe it is an asteroid with engines attached. Maybe it is mostly empty space. No one builds real starships that large. Murmurs of agreement came from around the room. Many aliens were nodding their heads. It was easier to believe the humans were deceiving them than to accept that their ships were really that big. Hive Queen Zilandra tried to maintain diplomatic calm. General Crox raises interesting questions. Perhaps the humans could provide some proof of their claims. Elena felt her diplomatic training take over. She knew that first contact situations could be delicate. What kind of proof would satisfy you? Engineer Telvak's metal body sparked with excitement. Let us scan your ship. Let us see inside it. If it is really what you say, our sensors will confirm it. Very well, Elena said. Dr. Webb, please contact Captain Chen. Ask her to open all sections of the ship for scanning. Dr. Webb activated his communication device.
Captain Chen, the Council would like to perform detailed scans of the Endeavor.
Permission to grant full access. Captain Sarah Chen's voice came through clearly. Permission granted. Tell them they can scan anything they want. Within minutes, the station's most advanced sensors were focused on the human ship. The results appeared on screens throughout the meeting hall. The aliens stared in shocked silence at what they saw. The Endeavor was not hollow. It was not an asteroid with engines. Every section was filled with equipment, living spaces, workshops, laboratories, and thousands of human crew members going about their daily tasks. By the ancient stars, whispered Commander Vextal, it really is a city in space. The scans showed residential areas with families and children. There were schools where human young were learning, medical centers with doctors treating patients, gardens where food was growing under artificial sunlight. Admiral Yerthin studied the displays with growing amazement. Look at the power systems. They have 12 fusion reactors just for life support. Our biggest ships have one reactor for everything. And the manufacturing sections, added Engineer Telvak. They can build entire spacecraft while traveling through space. This is beyond anything we imagined possible. But General Crox was still not convinced. One ship proves nothing. Where is the rest of this massive fleet you claim to have? Elena looked at Colonel Murphy. He nodded slightly. General, would you like to see more human ships? Yes, Crox said firmly. Show us this great fleet of yours. Elena activated her communication device again. Captain Chen, please contact Admiral Harrison. Ask him to bring the patrol fleet to our location. Understood, Captain Chen replied. Admiral Harrison is 3 systems away with the 7th Patrol Group. I'll send the message now. The aliens waited in tense silence. If the humans really had more giant ships, they would know soon enough. If not, their deception would be revealed. 2 hours later, the station's alarms began sounding again. Long-range sensors detected multiple large objects approaching at high speed. How many ships? Asked Zilandra. The sensor technician's voice was shaking. 12 major vessels, ma'am, and dozens of smaller ones. How big are the major vessels? The largest one is, it says here 12,000 meters long. That can't be right. Admiral Yerthin's blue skin had turned completely pale. 12,000 meters? That's impossible. The alien diplomats rushed to the observation windows. In the distance, they could see lights approaching. As the ships got closer, the aliens could see that the sensor readings were correct. The UES Goliath led the human fleet. At 12 kilometers long, it was more than twice the size of the Endeavor. Its massive hull was covered with weapons, hangar bays, and communication arrays. Following behind it were 11 other ships, each one larger than anything in the alien fleets. Captain Sarah Chen's voice came over the communication system. Galactic Council Station. This is Admiral Harrison aboard the UES Goliath. We received your invitation to visit. Permission to approach? Zilandra's insect body was shaking so badly she could barely speak. Permission? Permission granted, Admiral. The human fleet moved into formation around the station. Each ship was a monument to engineering on a scale the aliens had never imagined. The smallest escort vessel was larger than the biggest ship in the Galactic Council's combined fleets. General Crox stared out the window in complete silence. His earlier suspicions had been replaced by awe and fear. How? He whispered. How is this possible? Admiral Harrison's image appeared on the meeting hall's main screen. He was an older human with gray hair and kind eyes. Greetings, members of the Galactic Council. I am Admiral James Harrison of the United Earth Defense Force. Ambassador Rodriguez asked us to demonstrate our capabilities. Admiral, Elena said, the Council would like to see what our ships can do. Admiral Harrison smiled. Of course. We're near an uninhabited system with several dead planets. Would you like to see a planetary evacuation exercise? The aliens looked at each other in confusion. Planetary evacuation? Asked Zethkar. It's a standard operation for us, Admiral Harrison explained. Sometimes we need to move entire populations quickly. Natural disasters, stellar events, hostile invasions. Let me show you how it works. The fleet moved to the nearby system. The aliens watched on screens as the massive human ships approached a barren world, about the size of Earth. What happened next defied everything they understood about space. Operations, the Goliath deployed. Dozens of city-sized modules that descended to the planet's surface. Each module was large enough to house 1 million people. Smaller ships began strip mining asteroids and converting the raw materials into additional habitats. In a real evacuation, Admiral Harrison explained, we could move 50 million people off that planet in less than a week. The modules provide everything needed for long-term survival. Food production, medical facilities, schools, manufacturing. Engineer Telvac was frantically taking notes. The logistics are incredible. You're coordinating thousands of ships and millions of tons of equipment. It's not that complicated, Admiral Harrison said. Each ship has its own specialized role. The beauty of large ships is that they can carry everything needed for complex operations. The demonstration continued for several hours. The humans showed how their massive vessels could build space stations, terraform dead worlds, and create entire industrial complexes from nothing but raw asteroids. Captain Mordek watched in stunned amazement as human ships larger than mountains moved with perfect precision. We have been thinking too small, he said quietly. All of us, for thousands of years, we have been thinking too small. When the demonstration was over, the alien diplomats sat in shocked silence. Everything they thought they knew about space technology and fleet operations had been proven wrong. Admiral Yerthin finally spoke. Admiral Harrison, may I ask a question? Of course, why? Why do you build ships so large? Why do you need such massive fleets? Admiral Harrison's expression became serious. Because space is dangerous, Admiral. In our history, we learned that small groups fail and die. Large communities survive and thrive. When we explore new worlds, we don't send a few scouts. We send entire cities, and when you fight? Asked General Crox quietly. When we fight, Admiral Harrison replied, we fight to protect billions of lives across dozens of worlds. That requires ships that can carry entire armies and all their equipment. But mostly, we fight to preserve life, not destroy it. The demonstration had answered the aliens' questions, but it had also raised new ones. The humans were not conquerors or warriors. They were something much more unusual, a species that had learned to think and build on a galactic scale, but still used that power for peaceful purposes, and that made them either the best allies the galaxy could have, or the most dangerous enemies anyone could imagine. The Galactic Council had been in emergency session for 3 days. Representatives from every major species were present, either in person or through holographic projection. The topic of discussion was always the same: what to do about the humans. Ambassador Zethkar stood before the Great Assembly. His crystal body was glowing with stress patterns that showed his deep concern. Fellow council members, we face a situation unlike anything in our recorded history. The vast chamber was filled with hundreds of aliens from across the galaxy. Insect-like hive folk sat next to crystalline Vorthak. Gas-breathing nebula entities floated in their protective spheres, while rock-like granite kings occupied reinforced platforms. The humans have shown us capabilities that change everything. Zethkar continued. Their smallest warships are larger than our greatest dreadnoughts. Their industrial capacity exceeds our entire combined fleets. General Crox of the Crax Federation stood up. His wolf-like features showed the worry that had been growing in him since the demonstration. The question is not what they can do. The question is what they will do with such power. Murmurs of agreement echoed through the chamber. Many species had built their civilizations on military strength. The discovery that humans possessed overwhelming force had shaken the foundation of galactic politics. Admiral Yerthin of the Zephyrian Republic activated his holographic display. I have been analyzing the human fleet composition. They have enough firepower to conquer any 10 council species combined. Yet they ask for peaceful membership. Maybe that's just a trick, suggested Commander Vextal of the Hive Worlds. Maybe they plan to destroy us once they learn our weaknesses. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez had been listening to the debate from the human delegation area. Finally, she asked for permission to speak. "Honored council members," Elena said as she walked to the center of the chamber. "I understand your concerns, but I think you misunderstand human nature." The chamber fell silent. Every alien eye, sensor, and detection organ focused on her. "Humans do not build large ships to conquer others," Elena continued. "We build them because we must. Our history is full of disasters that small groups could not survive. We learned that only large communities with massive resources can handle the dangers of space." "But surely," interrupted General Crox, "such power tempts you to use it for conquest." Elena shook her head. "General, let me tell you about the Great Storm of 2387. A holographic display appeared showing a human colony world. The planet looked peaceful and green, with cities full of happy people. This was New Garden, one of our most successful colonies. 2 million people lived there. Then their sun began to behave strangely. The hologram changed to show massive solar flares erupting from the star. The radiation was so intense it began destroying the planet's atmosphere. Small ships could never have evacuated 2 million people in time," Elena explained. "But our large vessels could. The UES Protector alone carried 800,000 people to safety. The UES Guardian carried another 600,000. The aliens watched as massive human ships descended to the dying world. In a matter of days, they loaded entire cities worth of people and equipment. Every person on New Garden was saved," Elena said. "That is why we build big ships. Not to destroy life, but to preserve it." Ambassador Felnara of the Silk Road Confederation uncoiled from her position. "A beautiful story, Ambassador. But what happens when someone threatens humanity? What happens when you decide to use that power for war?" Before Elena could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red as automated voices announced a crisis. "All council members to emergency positions. Unknown hostile fleet detected approaching the outer rim." The chamber erupted in panic as aliens rushed to their positions. Admiral Yerthin activated his command console and his face went pale. "It's the Devourers," he whispered. "A full hive fleet heading for the Centauri colonies." Silence fell over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Every species in the galaxy knew about the Devourers. They were an ancient enemy that appeared every few centuries to consume entire worlds. Their bioships were living creatures the size of small moons, and they had never been defeated. General Crox's tactical display showed the approaching threat. 67 bioships, each one over 2 kilometers long. They'll reach Centauri in 36 hours. "How many people live in the Centauri system?" asked Elena. 43 million, replied Zethkar, across 12 worlds and hundreds of space habitats. "And how many council ships can reach them in time?" Admiral Yerthin checked his fleet positions. "Maybe 200 vessels. Not nearly enough. The Devourers will consume everything before our main fleets can arrive." Elena activated her communication device. "Admiral Harrison, are you monitoring this situation?" Admiral Harrison's voice came through clearly. "Yes, Ambassador. We've been tracking the Devourer fleet since it entered this sector. Can you help?" "The 7th Patrol Group is already moving to intercept. We'll be at Centauri in 18 hours. General Crox looked skeptical. 12 ships against 67 bioships? That's suicide even for vessels your size." "General," Admiral Harrison replied, "you're still thinking in terms of normal space combat. Let me show you how humans fight." The main display activated to show the human fleet moving through hyperspace. But something was different. The ships had changed configuration, with sections extending and new modules deploying. "Each of our vessels carries multiple specialized combat units," Admiral Harrison explained. "The Goliath alone can deploy 300 fighter squadrons, 50 assault battalions, and enough firepower to crack a moon." Dr. Webb stepped forward. "Admiral, the Council should understand what they're about to see. Human military doctrine is based on overwhelming force applied precisely. We don't fight to defeat enemies. We fight to save lives." The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Centauri system. The Devourer bioships were already attacking the outer colonies, their massive forms consuming everything in their path. What happened next stunned every alien watching. The human ships didn't attack the Devourers directly. Instead, they began the largest evacuation operation in galactic history. Massive transport modules deployed from every human vessel. Ships that the aliens thought were warships revealed themselves to be mobile cities designed to save lives on an enormous scale. The Goliath is evacuating the orbital habitats, Admiral Harrison reported. The Defender is handling the planetary populations. Guardian is setting up refugee camps on the safe worlds. At the same time, the human combat units engaged the Devourers, but even their weapons were designed around saving lives. Instead of trying to destroy the bioships, they used massive tractor beams to pull them away from populated areas. We're not trying to kill them, Admiral Harrison explained. We're herding them toward empty space where we can deal with them safely. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, every single person in the Centauri system had been evacuated to safety. The Devourers had been driven off and not one human ship had been lost. The council chamber was completely silent as the reports came in. 43 million people saved. An ancient enemy defeated, all by 12 human ships. Finally, Hive Queen Zilandra spoke. Ambassador Rodriguez, I believe we owe humanity an apology. And our gratitude, Elena smiled. No apology needed, Your Majesty. This is what we do. This is why we build big ships and maintain large fleets. Ambassador Zethkar's crystal body was glowing with a warm, welcoming light. The motion before the council is clear. All in favor of granting immediate full membership to humanity. Every hand, claw, tentacle, and appendage in the chamber rose in agreement. The vote was unanimous. Furthermore, continued Zethkar, I propose that we request human assistance in upgrading our own defensive capabilities. We have much to learn from their approach to preserving life. General Crox stood up slowly. I withdraw my earlier objections. Any species that can wield such power with such restraint deserves our respect and friendship. Admiral Yerthin was studying the tactical reports from the battle. Admiral Harrison, would humanity be willing to share some of your defensive technologies? Not your weapons, but your evacuation and life preservation systems? Of course, Admiral Harrison replied. That's exactly why we wanted to join the Council. To share knowledge and protect life throughout the galaxy. Elena looked around the chamber at all the different alien faces. Fear had been replaced by hope. Suspicion had given way to friendship. There's one more thing you should know, Elena said. The ships you've seen? They're from just one patrol group. Earth operates 47 similar groups throughout human space. The aliens made various sounds of amazement, but this time it was good amazement. They were no longer afraid of human power. They were grateful for it. Ambassador Felnara spoke for many when she said, For the first time in centuries, I feel truly safe. With humans as our allies, perhaps we can finally bring real peace to the galaxy. As the session ended and aliens began to leave, Elena reflected on how much had changed in just a few days. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council not as conquerors, but as protectors. Their massive ships would patrol the galaxy, ready to save lives and preserve peace. And somewhere in space, the massive human fleets continued their eternal watch.